it's incredibly beneficial. And it is the only legal psychedelic available right now. So, we're working on, obviously, psilocybin and MDMA coming out behind it, but we think that ketamine on its own is an incredibly powerful and beneficial substance.
Hey there, Midas Letter subscribers. My guest now is Matt Stang. He's CEO of Delic Holdings. Matt, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet, it's great to have you. Matt, let's start with an overview. What does Delic do?
Sure. So Delic is the first ever psychedelic wellness corporation. We're focused on mainstreaming psychedelic wellness. We've essentially completed 2 deals. One is a large lab business with a psilocybin license from Health Canada. The other one is a chain of ketamine clinics in the southwest of America. And the plan is to be the largest ketamine provider in America, and behind that, the largest psychedelic wellness provider in America. And so that's where we're going to be in the next 24 months.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty concise. Okay, so ketamine. How is it that ketamine came to be a legal product in the medical arsenal of mental health professionals?
Great question. So ketamine's been safely in use as an anesthetic for almost 60 years. And what some really interesting doctors found in the last 20 or so years is that it has an incredible power to help really reboot your brain. I like to say it's a reset, right? You're giving yourself a PTSD reset. So if you have a computer, like we're on this computer and our internet didn't work, or our audio doesn't work correctly, what do? We reboot it, and sometimes it'll work, right? And that's what we found with ketamine. Now, ketamine is very personal for me because my wife and co-founder has had an anxiety disorder for most of her life, and we found ketamine about 2.5 years ago, and it's been an incredible transformative substance, and the psychedelic wellness around it has helped change her life for the better immensely, and so that's really why we've embarked on this. So ketamine, what it does is it disassociates you from your trauma, from your depression, from your anxiety. And, I like to use a bunch of analogies because it's hard to describe exactly, but, you pull yourself out of that rut and you're now not stuck in that rut. You reset your brain and you're not stuck in your trauma or your PTSD or your depression. And what it allows is it allows people over that hour and a half session timeline to actually disassociate from their issues. And over the course of a multi-treatment regimen, people have been found to have incredible results. Like, treatment-resistant depression is now no longer holding them down. They're not stuck in a morass. They're not in this blue period where they can't get out of their house. It's incredibly beneficial. And it is the only legal psychedelic available right now. So, we're working on, obviously, psilocybin and MDMA coming out behind it, but we think that ketamine on its own is an incredibly powerful and beneficial substance. And the other piece to this is that we've had 1.5 years of some of the most traumatic time that any of us alive really remember. What does that do? That gives a lot of people PTSD, right? And depression. And we've seen this for the last year. There's been a drumbeat of stories about suicides going up and depression going up and disconnection. All of these things have no real pharmaceutical treatment, and this is the problem, right? You have the pharmaceutical companies have no substance that really helps people beyond. You look at the current crop of psychopharmacopoeia, and you're getting a 4 to 5% improvement, meaning that 4 to 5% of people are better at the end of each year than they were when they started. So when you look at things, when there's something an order of magnitude better, it will win and it will change the entire world. And that's where we are right now. We're at the beginning. We're in the first or second inning of that change. And we want to be the infrastructure play, the cash flow play for psychedelics. We don't look at this as a 7-year biotech business. We have clinics that cash flow, that make millions of dollars. And we really want to show people the opportunity to invest in that infrastructure play around psychedelic wellness.
Wow, that's pretty full plate you got there. I'm curious as to, so you acquired ketamine infusion centers. How many patients are you servicing currently?
So each clinic services somewhere in the 80 to 100 people a month range, and the way that this works is that the standard course or protocol is a 6 week infusion session once a week, and then boosters every month to 3 months as needed. And so what people will get is this, as I said, a reset. So we have new patients coming in fairly frequently, and then the people who are there stick around for about a 6 week cycle, and then they come back as needed to reset their brain again to help them with the anxiety, mood disorder, PTSD, treatment-resistant depression, and it's really it. What I love about it is that it's not, you're not stuck on a pill, you're not stuck on a MAOI or one of these SSRIs that leave people with no up or down, no ability to be creative, no scope of life. They're just kind of stuck in this blah middle, and they're not better, they're not worse, they're just kind of living, and they're not really sure why. And I think that it's just so powerful to show people that there's another option. And so when we look at this, the reason we think scaling is so interesting is that a really good cash flowing clinic has like 100 patients a month in that flow. So you really don't need that many people. So it's something that has not infinite scale, but a lot of room to grow, because it's still so new and niche, and people don't know about it. And so just, what we've really built, and I think this is super important, is this ecosystem. So we have a website that gets 400,000 or so people a month who are looking for information about psychedelic wellness. We have an event called Meet Delic, which comes up in November. That's the premier psychedelic wellness event. And what we've done is we've built this ecosystem so that people who are looking and trying to discover can then find, learn, and actually do at our clinics. And so we think that that really gives us a leg up, because we own our own ecosystem. We're not at the mercy of some large, faceless technological conglomerate that can either feed you people or not, depending on if they agree with what you're doing or not. And I think that's super important as you're building out into a new and nascent industry. And it's also important, my background was an owner and operator of a company called High Times for many years. And the thing that was super important was, as things went from black to gray to white, was giving people a sense of what the best in class was, right? And that's what, as a media platform, we did. And we helped build these billion-dollar brands. So what we've built here is a media and events platform that funnels into best-in-class brands that people can go and actually touch and feel and get serviced and get well. That's kind of the end point of the customer journey to us.
Sure. Interesting. So what is the ketamine experience like for a patient? Like what happens when they walk in the door? How long are they there? What kind of experience is it? And then when do they leave, and how do they feel afterwards?
Sure. So it's about, I'd call it somewhere between an hour and a half to 2 hour experience. You go in, you need someone to drive you or an Uber to take you home, because you should not be driving or operating a mechanized vehicle for 6 to 12 hours after you do the therapy. And so you go into the office. If you've already set up the program and you've been prescribed and you've dealt with a doctor, so there, if you're a first-time patient, there's the work of making sure you're a good fit for it, making sure that your mental health is checked. This is all FDA compliant and very regulated. If you're already in, you get an IV. So someone puts a small needle in. You have a bag with the ketamine, and it slowly dilutes into your body over the period of about an hour. You have, a room, you have music, and you have the space to kind of disassociate. So I think the best way to put it is you're kind of letting go of your ego. Some people describe it as an out-of-body experience. Some people describe it as a floating experience. But what it does is it turns off that part of your brain that engages in neuroses, that engages in depressive or obsessive compulsive. It helps a lot with people who have obsessive drug abuse or drinking, because it's really good at turning off neurotic behavior. And what happens is you have this experience for about an hour. You bring your own playlist, you have an enjoyable experience, you have someone who kind of holds the space, makes sure that you're okay, checks up on you, you talk a little bit about your issues, and then you walk out after about an hour and a half, and you're now in this place of, okay, I can feel what my life would be like if I wasn't stuck in this depression or this compulsion. And it's incredibly powerful because a lot of people, the brain is incredibly strong, but a lot of people feel stuck or trapped inside of their brain. And if you can't see that there's another option, you really don't know there is. And this is why I think psychedelics will be mainstream rather quickly, because people who find this therapy are so blown away. The people who are in need of this therapy, let me be clear, this is not everybody, but the folks who have OCD, PTSD, treatment-resistant depression, anxiety, when they find this and they're able to kind of let go of the stuff that's been holding them back so strongly for so long, it's an incredibly cathartic experience. And then they have days at a time where they feel, wow, life is bright and sunny and happy and wonderful. And what the process of 6 times in 6 weeks does is it functions as a brain trainer. I kind of say, like, you're training your brain to operate in a different modality, and it really does work. And people, we have a bunch of incredibly happy patients from our clinic, and it's just veterans have been one of the biggest, populations that have been served by the clinic, because it's just such a, you have so much anxiety and PTSD from serving in the armed forces, fighting, going to war, and it literally can change your brain in that way. So it's just so incredible. Like, watching people having this feedback, having my wife change in front of my eyes is just really incredible. And we think there's just such an opportunity to really make this both mainstream and accessible. So the business we bought is really focused on making it accessible. We want to make it, accessible to folks who aren't the top 0.01%. We love those folks too, but we think that there's a, tens of millions of people for whom this is necessary. And you can't do that by charging $5,000 cash out of pocket. People, it's not accessible. So we're working on insurance. We're working on, there's a form of ketamine that was created by Johnson & Johnson that is covered by insurance called S-ketamine that, showed incredible promise for treatment-resistant depression. And so we're just working on making this as affordable and accessible as possible to folks who need this, right? And I think that's incredibly important.
Yeah, that's sounds amazing, Matt. We're going to have to leave it there for now, though. I'm going to look forward to talking to you some more about this. It's a fascinating topic, and I'm a huge supporter of the whole psychedelic movement, because I think that my general mental well-being is largely derived from my experimentation in the psychedelic realms throughout my life. So I think everybody should do some every day, personally, but that's just me. But thanks for your time, Matt. We'll come back to you soon, and I really look forward to seeing Delic do well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Bye for now.